Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Wilson, and today we're going to continue on with identifying events and concepts associated with U.S. territorial expansion, including the Louisiana Purchase, which is what we did yesterday, and today looking at the expedition of Lewis and Clark, and in the future we'll be studying Manifest Destiny. Our essential question is, how did Lewis and Clark's exploration of the Louisiana Purchase contribute to further expansion of the West? So we're going to begin today's lesson by asking you some questions that you actually already answered. If you're already at this point, you answered discussion questions, imagining that you are an explorer traveling the world. You want to discover new lands and new cultures that had not yet been discovered. If you are taking part in this expedition, what challenges do you think you would face? And so you've already answered these in the discussion questions, and I look forward to reading your responses. But I imagine some of those responses might include things like discovering new plant life, new animals, challenges perhaps with geography, with weather, with groups of people that may not like you coming into their traveling on their land, all sorts of things that you may encounter. But again, I look forward to reading your discussion responses. So let's move forward. And as you did yesterday, you're going to be completing your note page, just typing in the information that is in blue on your note page. So looking at land in the West, President Jefferson was interested in those lands in the West even before the Louisiana Purchase. He was curious to find answers about this new land. So he decided to send 2 men out to map the Louisiana Territory. So what do you do when you're curious about something? Do you just kind of sit and ponder what might possibly be out there, or what your curiosity holds in store for you, or do you actually act on that? And Thomas Jefferson put himself in a position, or was in a position, I guess, where he could actually act on his curiosity. And people have always wanted to travel beyond the Appalachian Mountains and beyond the Mississippi River in those early decades, those early centuries of the New World, of America, and see what was on the other side. And this now is an opportunity where technology has advanced to a point where people can travel beyond the Appalachian Mountains, beyond the Mississippi River. That land is now in the hands of America. And so they don't have to worry about necessarily, fighting another country to go into those lands. But they do have to take into consideration that those lands are not free from people. People do live there. Native Americans do live there. People, former French citizens continue to live there. They never moved away after France lost that territory. So there are people living there, and it's not, they'll have to figure out how to deal with those people and deal with those circumstances as they arise. But nevertheless, the opportunity now exists for Thomas Jefferson to follow through with his curiosity and see what's out in that big, vast territory that is now part of the United States. He sends Lewis and Clark, Meriwether Lewis, an Army captain, and who was chosen to lead the expedition west, and William Clark, also an Army captain, also who was chosen by Lewis to go along with him. So trusted people that Jefferson knows, that he feels confident can get the job done. And it's a huge job. It's a huge job that they have to travel west in a more organized fashion than, say mountain men before them. Mountain men and fur trappers were typically the people, the European explorers, if you will, that went westward. They usually traveled alone and did the trapping and lived among native tribes or alone. And they had been out west previously, but never anything like this where you have an organized group of men that will travel west with a specific goal in mind. And we're going to continue on to see exactly what those goals were. So first of all, they want to search for a water route to the Pacific Ocean. They know there's a huge ocean there. How can they reach that ocean by land, if at all possible, and certainly by water? Is there a navigable river like the Mississippi River that extends from Canada or from Minnesota down to the port of New Orleans and empties into the Gulf of Mexico? Is there a water source that could possibly take them all the way to the Pacific Ocean and make travel across the continent much easier? Well, they'll find that out. They also know that as they encounter Native Americans, they're going to need to establish good relationships with Native Americans because, after all, they're the ones that know the land, know the territory, can help them in that discovery of whether or not there's a new a water route to the Pacific Ocean. So it's important that they work really hard to forge those good relationships with Native Americans. They also have to pay close attention to the soil and the face of the country. And those are words of Lewis and Clark, who kept really detailed journals of everything they did on this expedition. And so the face of the country, they have to, he's talking about the geography. What does it look like? Is it plains? Is it desert? Is it hills? Is it mountains? What does it look like? All of that needs to be recorded down so that those that follow will know the best route to take and what resources there are in those places that they travel to. So also taking notes of landforms, plants, and animals, and they will certainly discover a tremendous amount of plant life, animal life. All these things will be recorded as they travel westward. Just like Christopher Columbus and other explorers, as they travel to new worlds, new unsettled worlds, they record everything they see to make maps of their travels. And certainly that's what Lewis and Clark are doing on this journey. The expedition begins in May 1804. Lewis and Clark and other members of the expedition set out westward from St. Louis, Missouri, along the Missouri River. 3 boats carried expedition members, equipment, and supplies. They did not know then, but they would not return for 28 months. That's a long time. And you might want to kind of think to yourself, what type of equipment and supplies would they need to take with them on a journey that lasted probably a lot longer than they ever imagined it would. Certainly a lot longer than it took Christopher Columbus to sail across the ocean and land in the Bahama Islands. Expedition help. So kind of thinking back what I said earlier, that they're going to have to forge good relationships with Native Americans. One Native American in particular is Sacagawea. I've also heard this name pronounced Sagagawa, Sagagawea, and so there's different names, but I guess I've always kind of fell back on Sacagawea. Lewis and Clark hired a French-Canadian fur trapper and his Shoshone wife, Sacagawea, to act as interpreters and guides. So they're going to interpret for Lewis and Clark as they meet other Native American tribes, whether they're Shoshones or Blackfeet or Nez Perce or whatever. They will do the interpretation between the different groups, and they will also guide them along the journey through the territories that is familiar to them, but very, very unfamiliar to Lewis and Clark. Sacagawea helped Lewis and Clark establish good relationships with those Native Americans, as I mentioned earlier. The journey throughout the expedition, the members experienced many hardships, such as wild animals, scary weather, and harsh river currents. Wild animals such as grizzly bears, buffalo, black bear, moose, whatever you can imagine, were out there. And so this was absolutely pretty incredible scenery and wildlife that they came across. Also scary weather, tornadoes, snowstorms, harsh river currents on the rivers that they would be traveling up. Regardless, they were rewarded with fabulous views. They discovered new plants and new animals. They were not able, however, to find a direct water route, but were able to map the Louisiana Territory and find a path over the Rocky Mountains. So they couldn't find a water route to the Pacific Ocean, a direct one that was, but they did find a way to get across those Rocky Mountains, which will be a tremendous obstacle for them to get over, just as the Appalachians were for their forefathers. All right. This actually concludes the end of our presentation on Lewis and Clark. And tomorrow you'll be watching a video that really goes into detail about this journey westward. What you'll be doing after you complete your note page is looking at a map of the journey west and answering some questions. And of course, if you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to contact me through Schoology or join one of my Zoom sessions. Take care.